Diane is joining us from the National JumpStart Coalition for Personal Financial Literacy and is here to talk to us tonight about the JumpStart Clearinghouse. So, Ann, I am sending controls of the webinar over your direction.
Okay. Thank you. Well,
you are quite welcome.
Yes, I want to thank the Making Sense program and Pennsylvania for having me. I'm actually located here in Ann Arbor, Michigan, but the JumpStart Coalition headquarters is in Washington, D.C. And our theme for our slides are that we're stronger together, and our recurring theme is supporting teachers through collaboration. And so that's, whoops. For those of you, at the earlier webinar, we had a few people who were familiar with JumpStart, and one person who, like me, is all enthusiastic about attending our National Educator Conference that we have every year. We have National JumpStart was founded in 1995, over 20 years ago, and is a coalition of over 100 national partners, and it's a who's who of everybody from business, finance, education, government agencies, academia, and more. It's everybody who's doing something in personal finance education is a member of the JumpStart Coalition, I find. And our mission is to work together to educate and prepare our nation's youth for lifelong financial success. So our niche is pre-K through college-age students. And so over the last 20-plus years, we've developed these initiatives, and the one we're going to talk about tonight is the JumpStart Clearinghouse. We also have the National Educator Conference. This year it's in D.C. We try to move it around the country, and it's a great opportunity for 300 or so teachers from every state and Puerto Rico to get together and network and hear about new resources. And it's a great event, and it's also heavily sponsored, so the cost for the attendees is low, generally $400 or $500. So registration will start around Labor Day for that, and there are also scholarships available. So if you have any questions on any of JumpStart's initiatives, feel free to keep my name and follow up with me at any point. JumpStart also started the National Standards in Personal Finance Education, which are free to download on our website. We put out a lot of e-newsletters, so on the website you can subscribe to get all of the updates on new resources and activities. JumpStart was the founding organization for Financial Literacy Month in April, and also on this year it's going to be on April 28th, but we have Financial Literacy Day on Capitol Hill, where we try and educate the legislators about what's happening in financial literacy. So if you're in town in Washington, D.C. on April 28th, join us at that event. We also have 51 state coalitions, including Puerto Rico. This last one here, the JumpStart Financial Foundations for Educators, is a teacher professional development program that we've been developing with our partners, and it is where teachers learn more about their own personal finances so that they can be more confident in the classroom. So I'm Ask Ann at the JumpStart Clearinghouse, and this is the page from our website, which I'm going to do an online demo here in a minute, but you can always contact me to follow up on any JumpStart activities. So the JumpStart Clearinghouse is an online library, a database, to help teachers, parents, and students find curated personal finance resources. And the database is free to use. Over the years, we've developed 900 titles, and nearly half of them are free. They're downloadable. They're keyed to the national standards in personal finance education. And one way you can really help us out is that our new technology allows teachers such as yourself to rate resources on a star system and write comments that are useful to other teachers who are considering whether to use this resource in the classroom. So I want to encourage you to collaborate with us and write some reviews for resources that you're familiar with. And I'll show you more about that at the live demo. One of the things that makes JumpStart's Clearinghouse different is that we, as I mentioned, curate our materials. And I'll show you on the website our full 8x11 detailed criteria. But in summary, our resources must be educational and unbiased, non-commercial, not selling or promoting any specific financial services or products, and the advice that may or may not be given in the resource needs to be broad and appropriate for a general audience. So this is what sets us apart from just searching the internet for a resource. As I mentioned, we have been maintaining the national standards in personal finance education since 1998, and they're free to download on our website, and these are the content areas in order with which they appear. So the resources listed in the Clearinghouse, those 900 or so resources, are all related to these content areas. Here's my email address, and I'd be happy to hear from you and work with you to help you use the Clearinghouse and find resources. And so now let's do a live download of the Clearinghouse, or online demonstration of the Clearinghouse. So the website is jumpstartclearinghouse.org, and create a profile over here in the upper right corner. You're not required to create a profile, but this is where you can then favorite resources and in effect save them to look at later. This is where with a profile you can share resources across all social media, different social media things, and you can review and comment on resources. And so I'm just going to sign in my login. But here is the home page then for the Clearinghouse. And the technology has featured resources that change over here on the left every time a user logs back in. The technology highlights what's new in the database or what's been updated. And it also, using Google Analytics, it has a run here on what's most popular, what's getting the most hits. Here's me, here's the Ask Ann button, and then down here is another pathway to create an account. If you happen to have created a resource yourself that you would like to list on, have considered for listing on the Clearinghouse, you'd be down over here under Resource Providers, and then just the regular users, teachers and parents, are over here to create a profile. So I would like to piggyback off of the insurance resources that Dave was talking about. And so here under the main search box, I'm going to put in the resource he was talking about, Insure You. But before I leave this page, the technology prompts you for keywords down here. And it's using a relevance match technology. So that means, unlike older style search engines or previous versions of the Clearinghouse itself, where it was just a keyword search and then you'd get an alpha list of resources, the new technology is thinking and learning as more and more people use the Clearinghouse. So the technology is knowing what words, what you might be thinking about, and learning the language of personal finance education. I find that a lot of the resources under grade level here may say that they cover budgeting, for example, or insurance, but the elementary treatment of the content will be wildly different than the high school treatment. So one way to narrow your search is to add in your grade level. That's a good big tip there. And also over here under resource types, if you're really looking for a teaching guide or student workbooks or smartphone applications, or you would like a game and so forth, one of my jobs is to try and keep my resource types in the Clearinghouse up to date with changes in technology and all the new resource types that can be available. So you can select a resource type if you'd like. Here is how you can search for free resources. Free would be no cost or full cost. And here is where, if you want to search by standards, you can plunk in whichever standard you're looking for and see which resources come up to that. And I'll tell you, we are populating, the resource listings are populating their correlations to the standards. That was not available under the old technology, and we just launched this new technology. So everything isn't correlated yet, but we're moving in that direction. So back to in searching Insure You. Ta-da! There they are. We recognize the logo from Dave's slides, and here's the provider, the NAIC. And so we have the three resources from them listed here. And Hillary was mentioning, there's not that much on insurance in some cases compared to like investing. We have many things on investing and not as much on insurance. But I happen to know that Invest is another provider. So if I put that in the search box, then I also get a few more things here. I get a 6-week Invest lesson plans, which Invest is insurance education for leaders. So we get a few more things to look at. 41 resources came up in total on that. So, but here, suppose I was looking up Teen Driving 101. So here, a typical listing has a paragraph description and confirms the price, if any, and we categorize it to whether it's information, tools, or curriculum. And if you say, okay, I'd like to get the resource, we click through then to the provider's resource. So you actually, JumpStart does not stock the resources, but we, as everything's gone online in the industry, we click through to the provider's website. And so a couple other things, and then I'll see if any of you have a question or anything, is if you, here under the About tab, this takes you back to the JumpStart main website, and this is where if you wanted to submit a resource, you would create an account. And also here is the criteria for reviewing materials. And so this, we are perpetually updating this because of new resource types, but this is where we categorize resources into 4 main categories and get into the more detail about the resources and how we handle dynamic content. Resources has been a challenge for us because they're not printed and done with it. The content is changing. So we have to address that to try and ensure that it meets our standards of being unbiased and good quality, high quality content. Let's see. Oh, I wanted to show you one other place where, again, where you could write reviews. Here, when you're in a resource, here are the tabs for reviewing or commenting. And this is where, if you have used the resource, you could help JumpStart and help personal finance educators by adding your thoughts about it. Here's also where you could share it on social media and add it to your own favorites to come back and visit it later. And so with that, I want to again offer that if this sounds interesting to you and you had any questions about it, either now or in the future, feel free to get in touch with me. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Hillary to see if we had any questions or further comments.
Thank you so much, Anne. I'm not seeing any other questions come in, but let's spend just a second here talking a little bit about what you just shared with us, and I'm sure that some folks will pop in with some comments or questions. I'm curious, using that function where you can raise your hand, I'm going to first lower everybody's hand so get an accurate count. How many of you have searched on the JumpStart Clearinghouse before? Maybe not in its newest version, but you've used it, at some point in the past. Oh wow! So we only have just a very small number of folks. Maybe 1 out of 10 folks on the line have used it before. So good. I'm glad this is really new to everybody. A question for you, Anne. Can you speak about the fees for some lessons? I noticed on the slider, and the participant did too, that it goes up to $1,000. Can you talk a little bit about where you find the fees from many of these, being, and do you have any up there at that top tier?
Yes. Well, we do have some resources that are from a for-profit educational group. Textbooks, for example, are not free, or some successful entrepreneurs that have developed really neat resources, those can have a price to them. And our policy over here, our criteria, is that we are not going to police the prices. Actually, we don't actually say that anymore right in there. We figure that the market forces will determine whether the price was reasonable for a resource or not, but we do clearly state the price. And so we could, trying to find a resource that's not free. Let's see if we said put in insurance up here and set the price to, I think we're going to get 0 results. Yeah, let's see. Is this what you, okay, here's one. When I move the price down, here's a few more, a few $100s for different ones.
I'm familiar with that first one, so that's probably a site license version or a licensed version of a material as well. So what percentage? Do you have any idea, Anne, what percentage of the resources in the clearinghouse are free of charge?
About half of the resources are, because if you, and I want to look up one other one, but if you hop back over to the main JumpStart page and look at the About Us, if you look here under National Partners, many of these groups are preparing resources for free. It's part of their educational foundation, or the government agencies put out a lot of really good resources. And so it's not, over half of the resources are, and many of the best ones are, no charge. The NEFI's, National Endowment for Financial Education, their resource is also free. And coming up in the next a segment of our meeting tonight, EverFi is free. So if I put in EverFi, and Amber will explain more about how they're how they pay for their resource, but they don't bill it to the schools at any rate. So here's another one where Amber can explain in more detail how they manage to do it for free, but they pay for it through their sponsors and other avenues. So you can there's a lot of ways that our providers manage to offer high quality resources to the classroom without having to charge the teacher.
That's great. We have another question that came in. Are older resources ever purged, and if so, is there a cutoff date? So, how do you keep this fresh, and how do you know that, what's listed is still good and still relevant?
Well, that is a perpetual job, actually, and so I do this year-round, and we also have our summer interns that help us with it. And generally, if a resource is more than 10 years old, there are some good perennial favorites in like the younger grades in storybooks. Those that content doesn't go out of date, but a high school piece on credit has to stay more up to date, and even investing with the crowdfunding and different things going on. So generally, if it's over 10 years old, it's deleted. And our technology checks for broken links. So that's another way that with the help of the broken link software, we can see if something has gone out of business or closed their website. And we're also perpetually emailing the resource providers, asking them to make sure their resource listings are up to date. So it's an ongoing project, and there again, this is a free resource for all of us. So in the theme of collaboration, if you would like to see certain resources on here that you're not finding, or you found ones that are no longer available, I'd love to hear from you and get those on or off the Clearinghouse, as the case may be.
Great. Lots of really good information, and I think I really encourage everybody on the line to create a profile and log in, and both I think to search for resources, and also lots of folks that we have on with us, and I know have been teaching for this topic for quite a while. They have experience with a variety of different resources. So, I would encourage all of you whose names I very much recognize to hop on and spend just a few minutes helping other educators, to get a sense of what's good, because you guys are the ones that are using this on a day-to-day basis and have that ability. One of the things we always talk about in financial education is frequently folks are lone rangers in their school district or in their building. It's not like there's a department of 12 personal finance teachers. I've yet to find one of those schools anywhere. So it's not like you can just sit around at a department meeting, or ask somebody casually in the teacher's lounge what they're using to teach a certain topic. So resources like this are just fantastic, and certainly the more that our teachers can help you and themselves and their colleagues out, the better. So hopefully, Ann, you'll be getting a lot of folks logging on and registering and getting in touch with you if they have any questions. So,
joining us. Yes, and joining us in November in DC at the National Educator Conference.
Yes, I most certainly hope that they do. And I wanted to follow up on that. You mentioned to folks that it is an underwritten program, and that keeps the cost down, and it's around $400 or $500. And I just wanted to mention that is all inclusive. So that's inclusive of the registration for the conference, as well as the meals and the lodging, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct,
Yes,
Anne?
that's correct.
Yep. And as you said, there are some entities that sponsor teachers, and I am also familiar with some teachers who have reached out to, for example, a local credit union or other financial institution in the area and said, I have a strong interest in attending this. Would you consider underwriting that cost? And a number of teachers I know have been successful in finding sponsorships if the funding isn't available in their school district. Although I would say that some school districts are maybe looking at their professional development budget for next year right now. So now's a good time to start thinking about that. So once again, Anne, thank you so much. Great to have you on, and appreciate you taking your time out of your evening to join us.
Thank you very much.